5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Materialize. Hello Gemini, welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Virgo. This is happening on the 7th of March at 11:42 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. It is also the final full moon for this trip around the zodiac. If we think about Pisces season as being the culmination of things, and Aries season being the instigation of the next round on the cycle, then this full moon is feeling like a really great big crescendo. And so for you, Virgo rules your 4th house, which is where we think about our home, our root system, our ancestry, our sense of belonging and safety. And the tenement, the major secret of Virgo in the tarot is the hermit, is the figure that has taken themselves away from sort of conventional society or from the group, from the responsibilities of life, in order to open the portal and to receive the messages from spirit world and to alchemize them into something tangible on this plane. I like this for you, Gemini, and I think that there's going to be a great deal of room for you to let go of some of, potentially these might be ancestral vows, potentially this might be difficult relationships with your caregivers or with the home that you grew up in. And if you think about yourself as Virgo, think about yourself as the one that is actively separated from convention to follow their own path and to live how they wish to live, then that's a really simple way for you to find the character that you're going to play at this full moon in Virgo. And every full moon in Virgo, I might say. Virgo is not leaving your 4th house ever, ever, ever. If you're a Gemini rising, that's the placement. Virgo is your base system, your root system of your chart. And there's a great deal of kind of like reclamation that can happen, I think, with that pairing. We know that the most obvious part of you, the most visible part of you, Gemini, is your Piscean attributes. So your magical, mystical, empathetic spell maker. That's, you could make a career out of that. The private parts of you are Virgo, the private parts that perhaps not a lot of people get to see, is that sort of quiet repetition. We know it's one thing to be as expansive and magical as the Piscean wishes to be. We also know that there's a great relationship between Pisces and Virgo, and that there's the need to ground, the need to find a stable root system is essential for all of that flourishing, I just got this image of a tree, and we, stand below an ancient tree, and we can marvel at the branches and how vast they are and how they seem to be touching the heaven, We've got to remember that exact structure is happening below the earth too. The root system is there, able to support the growth up top. So if this full moon is sort of bringing up some issues for you around home, around belonging, then I really want you to allow yourself to feel it and to let it wash over and through you. At a full moon, we get to release, right? We get to let go of some of the things that, history repeating that's damaging for us. If you haven't found yourself a stable root system yet, then I've got to say, Gemini, don't you worry. It's on the way. You'll find it. I'm rapidly learning that, and it sounds like such a hack thing to say, but in my experience, I've been running here and running there and running there and running there, looking, searching out, seeking, trying to find a place that would welcome me, a place where I could rest, where I could set down my tools and I could spread out. I've lived a life where I'm so used to living out of a suitcase, constantly being portable. I've got that image of aerial roots again. And it just so happens that if you look behind me, I don't know if you can see them. I've got my monstera right behind me and this big swathe of aerial roots that she carries with her. She's in that vase. That's portable. But in essence, her root system is strong and reliable. So, yeah, I say this to a lot of folks when I talk about the fourth house, and I really think that it's a nice message, especially when there's a full moon that touches your fourth house. And if you do live with housing trauma, housing instability, as a lot of us do, it can be something that adds to a feeling of us being ungrounded. With all of that Pisces energy going on in your 10th, you want to bring it down somewhere. If you're in a good place, Gemini, if you've got a really healthy root system, if you've got a place where you can rest, as PJ Harvey says, then at this full moon, I'd love for you to show your gratitude for that, to be proud of your roots and to be proud of the way that you've tended to them as well. Now this full moon, as I said before, it's sort of like the prelude into one of the first dominoes that are falling over for us in the outer planets' shifting sign. So Saturn, the planet of restriction and boundary and regulation, has been in your 9th house in Aquarius for the last 3 years, since March of 2020. And so I want you to think back to, if you can, without triggering yourself, think back to March of 2020 and think about everything that you've come to learn about mind expansion and about formalized sort of lessons. What teachers have you gone to, and what have you absorbed in your body that you know to be true? And this could be to do with your spirituality. This could be to do with your academic study as well. Saturn can help us if we remember that boundaries are needed in order to grow. With the correct parameters around us, we can live out to the potential. Yeah, so I've just lost my train of thought. It's a bit Pisces. This boundary is leaving your 9th house and entering your 10th house. So I guess what I'm saying is that if we can really pinpoint and recognize what we've come to learn over the last 3 years and bring that lesson, bring that guideline into our 10th house, our career, our most public self, then from the 7th of March until 2025, I think we've got a good helper in our corner. There'll be things that you can really go about achieving over these next years, Gemini. If you can remember that, I guess and I'm sure I'm saying this one too, but I said it in another reading, but something that I wrote down in my diary a couple of days ago, and it really helped me. I think at the moment, when you're self-employed and you're sort of white knuckling through, week to week, everything that you put out is your responsibility to hit that deadline because you're the one that wrote the deadline. Every strategy of growth is up to you to implement because there's no one to answer to. You've got no one on your back riding your hump, checking in that you're hitting this mark or meeting that deadline. There's a great freedom to working for yourself. There's also terror and fear that you won't measure up, that you won't be able to do it. And when that happens for me, I tend to move even slower. And I don't enjoy my leisure time. I don't enjoy that time to rest. I sit there in absolute guilt and fear that I'm not doing enough. And so what I'm putting all of this on the table for you, Gemini, is to let's have a think about the balance that we can find in our lives over these next years from our leisure time and our rest time and our work ethic. And if we can refine that work ethic, if we can bring that to a point where we are hitting our deadlines and leveling up and reaching our goals, reaching our dreams, then in the moments when it is appropriate to languish and to rest and to chill out and to be lazy, then we can do it with no other thought in our head that it's the right thing to do for us because we've really worked really hard and we're going to take this time just to chill, rather than taking the time to chill because the body obviously needs to rest but not being able to because of the anxiety of not measuring up, not fronting up, not doing enough. I think that Saturn in Pisces over these next years is going to be really helpful for you, Gemini. It's just a matter of how we approach it. Sometimes Saturn in Pisces can look a little bit like false idols. It can look a bit like, red herrings, Pisces, sort of like, oh, I'll do this or I'll do that, or it's sort of the erosion of some sort of boundary, and also the kind of seduction of differing forms of leadership too is something that's really strong in this reading. Yeah, none of us need a guru, absolutely not. Probably set down some of that if you're sort of searching for the next frontier of, hopefully Saturn in your ninth house has taught you that the only person you can really we can learn from everyone. It's a great one, brilliant to have a mentor, but a guru is someone who's going to tell you what to do and lay it down for you and save your soul on your behalf. That's not going to happen. I've got some interesting tarot cards here. So I got Strength, the Two of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, and Judgment. Yeah. Yeah, what I feel for you, Gemini, is to really reiterate this idea that you are your own boss and that you're the one to answer to, and that your dreams are valid and that your dreams can be realized and actualized by a healthy dose of structure. There's something here that is really telling me that obviously you're not going to be able to exist within the confines of a more kind of conventional lifestyle. The idea of like working for a company, for example, or kind of doing a job that's just your job, and then, that will provide you with monetary security, and then therefore you can then look forward to retirement. That's kind of not your bag. What you have to spend your time doing what moves you, doing what lights you up. Absolutely. The Judgment card here, there's a simple way to describe this card. My tarot teacher, Julia, always tells me, are you going to live a life half lived? Is simply what the Judgment card is saying to you. Because you can, if you wish to. And I guess that sentiment can go both ways, can't it? Because right back to what I was saying about leisure time will be pleasurable if there is some sense of structure to your life. You know, if there's a sense of hitting your own deadlines, you know, waking up, looking at your diary and seeing what tasks you need to achieve for your own business, for your own success. Gone are the days where you're going to be answering to someone else or you know, like I used to do when I was at university, like put it off, and then the night before an essay was due, stay up for 24 hours and write it and nail the class, you know, HDs all the way. But that kind of pressure, I mean, some of us work and get activated by the pressure. You're a Gemini, I think it might stress you out. I'm going to be really honest with you. I have a Gemini moon and I am so mutable. So, you know, I really, really have to thank heavens for my Capricorn sun that's on my back. You know, I've got a Capricorn sun, so I'm lucky I can look forward to Saturn's entry into some of my mutable placements because there is a bit of a whoosh, you know, like, let's get this done. Fair enough. Yep, it's very creative. You're very good, very expansive. But what is it? What's the practicalities of this? What are the steps? How do we go from here to here to here to completion? Who's going to produce this? All of those sorts of things, Gemini. The Queen of Wands here and the Two of Pentacles, you know, it's sort of, I do feel I feel that, you know, the juggle, that sort of feeling of like instability perhaps at the moment. But you've got to remember that this is, you know, the Queen of Fire, the Queen of Passion is right there with you. And that's kind of what you're working towards. And it takes strength. And this card always reminds me as well that there's no violence present in this power at all. There's a tenderness and an openness and a gentility to this card, but there's mastery too. That lion's eaten out the palm of her hand. So at this Virgo full moon, we didn't talk so much about your fourth house, but I can definitely imagine that think about that tree again. Branches, roots. You're going to be able to grow and succeed and expand beyond your wildest dreams, Gemini. It might be worth having a look at those roots and making sure that they're in good health. And ready yourself for the taskmaster of Saturn to enter your 10th house. I think that for the next couple of years, you can really work diligently with that energy and learn to answer to yourself. Set those goals, set those guidelines, those deadlines, and get the shit done. All right, that's your reading, Gemini. Much love to you. Head to umaruby.com and get your birth chart read by me. You can also send me some tip money at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. It's not essential, but always very grateful for it. I will be speaking to you in 2 weeks for the new moon in Aries, which is the match. It's the cog ticking over, the brand new cycle about to begin. So let's get ready for it. Saturn is there to prop you up and to whisper in your ear, okay, so what are the steps? How are we going to get this done? Much love to you, Gemini. Take care.